Welcome to this analysis on XRP with Machiavelli Trader. Welcome to this analysis with Machiavelli Trader on XRP Live. So we are seeing that XRP has been respecting the bull trend line. This is the 1 hour chart, and we can see it making its way all the way to come back to retest the bull trend line here, right here. So I'm expecting a move up, a bounce at this current support. So this is the bull support line. This is the bull support line right here. So if I go to the 4 hours chart, it gets really very interesting. This is the 4 hours chart. So we see that it is quite very interesting on the 4 hours chart. Why? Is because this bull trend line has been clearly respected. Why the bulls are making higher lows as price keeps going up. We see here, right here, we see right here again, another touch here, and it's been trending on that same buy zone, that same buy line. It's been respecting it and making higher lows as it goes, of which we know that this is a strong support. Like below here is a strong support, right here, right? And we saw some accumulation that went on. If you watch my last video, I talked about this accumulation and the result we could see happening on the chart. So if I go to my daily chart, this is a 1 hour, this is the 4 hours chart. So you can see price respecting that trend line. That if I go to my daily chart, you can see how clearly this trend line is leading price up. So what we're seeing on the daily chart is a form of a triangle consolidation, right? So you see it, right? You see the upper So we're clearly here seeing XRP respecting the daily trend line. So what we are seeing here is likely we're going to see the bulls making moves like this. So I am expecting a break to this resistance right here. But before we make it to this resistance up here, we're going to see a reaction with this the middle of the triangle formation that is happening here. So if I take this upper trend line, the middle one here, and this lower trend line right here, we see that we're having something that looks like a kind of ascending triangle, right? So we could have the breakout happen this way, right? But then we have a resistance which is right this seller's trend line that always gets shorted down each time that it is touched. You can see that reaction here and here, and we could get that reaction again once more here before price comes down and try to break its way up. So if we look at the daily chart, it is quite clearly obvious that the bulls are still in control in terms of XRP. As on the daily chart, we are seeing this bull trend line, right? This bull support trend line since the last big drop on XRP. This bull support trend line has been leading price up, right? So if you come closer, you're going to see the touch here, right? You can see a very closer touch here when it made a higher low, and then we're also having it holding up still at this current zone. So what we could likely see any moment from today or next is likely we see XRP moving up to hit the resistance of 0.69 to 0.7 area. So we have a strong resistance lying right there, but it's quite obvious that XRP bulls target is likely this upper bullish this upper seller's trend line, right? That is where our resistance is on the daily chart. So you see the first touch of the resistance right here, another touch right here, and we could likely see another touch on this zone, right? So if once XRP get to this point, it is going to react, pull back, and then try to break the resistance again. So now if you look at the support, a very clear closer view at what we're seeing on the 1 hour chart, we're seeing that even though price is sitting on this particular support, we see price making clear higher lows, right? So you see this line is still not broken, right? Even though we had some sort of double bottom right here, right? There's a kind of a double bottom on this 1 hour chart, but again we are seeing that the candles being printed on this support looks bullish. So we could see the next candle printing and trying to find its way up. So we could have a sideways movement that will lead all the way up next. So where we are now is more like a buy accumulation zone on support for the bulls on XRP. So you see how clearly these bulls have been making higher lows. Now their step is kind of deceptive, because you're going to keep looking at the top and seeing that it is being rejected constantly in the same zone, right? So you see this rejection each time it makes its way up, you see it is clearly being rejected. But what you are not going to see is the fact that this this lows that is making higher lows is an accumulation, because each time you see this accumulation that went on here, then you see the breakout was massive, right? So the same thing is happening right here, right? So there will be another massive breakout to the upside, and the target is to break this resistance, right? Because it has tried the breaking of this resistance this is the fourth attempt is going to make on it, because this is 1, 2, 3. So the fourth attempt, we're going to likely see this resistance destroyed by XRP. But once it gets to it, it's going to pull back, react before trying to get above the resistance. Now, mind you, this is the 4 hours chart, right? We're looking at higher time frame, right? We're looking at stronger precedence over lower time frame, something we can trust. And I believe that going to the daily chart will give us even more characteristics of the bulls still in action, right? So if you look at the daily chart, you see that we're having clear accumulation going on, but in this accumulation you can see this particular bar, this bar right here is showing you that there are bulls inside the range, there are bulls inside the consolidation, the sideways movement. There is bull pressure. So not just the higher lows that is being formed here. We had a if I go to back to the 4 hours chart, I will show you a pattern called the inverse head and shoulder, and that inverse head and shoulder is forming right now on XRP. That is what we're going to see taking up, right? So if I come closer, let me look at 1 hour chart. I think 1 hour chart will give us a clear view of this inverse head and shoulder. So we see this major inverse head and shoulder, right? So this is the left shoulder, right? This is the left and this is the head. This is the head of the inverse head and shoulder, and right here is the right shoulder, right? This is our right shoulder, right? So you see that this shoulder and this shoulder is almost the same height, but you see that the head is quite broke through the resistance and then got pulled back. So what we have is something like this, right? We have something. This is inverse head and shoulder, and this is a reversal pattern. So is this reversal pattern that we're seeing preventing XRP from pulling back to this support right here, right? So we have a strong support here, and this inverse head and shoulder is going to prevent XRP from coming down to this point. So it is likely that XRP bulls are going to maintain this line right here and try to bounce on this current support. So if I bring my exponential moving average, if I turn on my exponential moving average, you're going to understand what I'm saying. So we look closely, we see something, this right here, this particular occurrence right here, this sideways move is what we're going to see occurring right here as well. And then we're going to have another break. This time around is going to make a higher high, higher than the last high. That's what we're going to have right here. So what we're seeing is the fact that right here, this accumulation is preventing price from falling through. Why? Because this is now a new support, right? This zone is a big support for XRP. So it won't be easy for price to just break through all this period of accumulation, because this is a long time period of accumulation that went on for days. So it won't find it easy to break through. Instead, price will reverse on this support. And let me also show you a good example why I say it's already reacting to the support. If I look at the candlesticks pattern being printed on the support, it's quite very clear. Here we have a clear 2-bar reversal right here on the support. The first time the price retraced to the support, there was a 2-bar reversal, and this 2-bar reversal had a follow through, right? So this bar right here was a follow through, and you can see that it held on to try to move to the upside, right, and made a higher low, like, because this high right here is higher than this high, right? So this is a new high than this high, because these are different highs, right? So this high is higher than this high, telling you we have a change in market structure on the 1 hour, a clear change in market structure. So we know that after the first touch of a support, there is always a retest. So what we had happening here is price coming back to retrace to know if it's going to find buyers if it's going to find buyers on this support. And that is exactly what we saw, because we are now having another clear 2-bar reversal still on the same support. So this 0.28 support zone all the way to 0.288 is a very strong buy zone for bulls. So we could see a reversal taking place at this support zone. But before that happened, there could be a sideways move, meaning a little battle between sellers and buyers. Why? It's because sellers are trying their hard to make sure they break the support, but the buyers will not let that happen. As a result, like I said, because of the previous accumulation zone that is just below, you can see that's where it stopped, right? The accumulation zone, right? You see it, right? So let me make the drawing. Let me turn off the EMA so that you see what I'm talking about. So if I should draw a trend line right here, a horizontal trend line right here, right? Right here, right? So you see that here there's a clear resistance playing out right here, right here. This is also a resistance, but it was rejected, right? Like this is more like a fake out. The same thing happened here, but it came and it broke it on this attempt, right? So what happened is, what we're seeing is a retest of that breakout. I remember, if you watch my previous video, I talked about the drop that happened in December was nothing but a retest. So what we are seeing here is that this retest is going to pull itself up and start going back to where it's coming from. So what we are seeing here is nothing but a retest on XRP. So it's going to be like a crawl way up. XRP will keep crawling up until it crosses this resistance right here. This resistance here, the resistance that is forming our ascending triangle, right? So this resistance is the cause of the reason why you are seeing this accumulation going on, right? Enough strength to break this resistance. As long as the price is making higher lows, it means the bulls are only adding to their position. Each time the bears shot price down, because when the first time it touched this support, this is where the major support is, right? So the first time, that 0.2 zone, right? The first time price came down to touch the support, it reacted and pulled up, and the first thing that pushed it back down was that same resistance. It came back down. This time around there was a stop loss hunt, right? Because it cleared all the stop loss here.
forming the inverse head and shoulder, which pulled price back up to the resistance. Let me draw that so that it will be very clear. So the price came back down, reacted up, there was a stop loss hold that cleared stop loss here. It formed inverse head and shoulder right here and went back to the same resistance, but there was strong selling on this resistance. It came back down, but bulls didn't give up because they tried again, but they failed. So they came back. Instead of trying instantly, they started adding to position. That is what you're seeing. You're seeing the bulls, they're adding to position because now they know they need enough buy power to break the resistance in this 0.7 range. Is a very clear, strong resistance, right? So, but the more highs they make, the more higher lows they make, the more chances of them succeeding, right? It's only making the bulls stronger. So the more time you see XRP delaying in this support, it only means buy pressure is accumulating. I don't see sell pressure really showing up much as a result of this daily chart. If you look at the daily chart, you see the dojis forming on the support, right? These are dojis. These are dojis forming on support. And then this doji was clearly broken by another doji, right? A hanging man. But this hanging man is hanging on the support, right? Sorry, I said hanging man. Inverse hammer, right? This is an inverse hammer, right? So this is standing right on support, right? I've just like in this zone. Here is an example of it happening here, right here, right here. This is example of what happened right here, right? This is the same thing that happened here, right? So first they were dojis. It was broken, and another more dojis before it went to the upside. So this is the same thing likely happening here, right? So you're going to have it move up like this. That's what we're going to get. Clearly no indicator, just pure price action, trying to analyze what we're seeing here based on the candles. No indicator, just based on the candles. So we are not being biased about anything we're seeing here. We're not trying to judge according to indicator. We're going to just judge on the candles we're seeing. What is the candles telling us based on the previous performance? So you can see Bitcoin is going up. We're going to see XRP going up as well. That's what we're going to see. And as well, this first quarter of 2021 is going to be amazing, because once this resistance is cleared, once this resistance on 0.37 is cleared right here, this resistance line right here, once it's cleared, it's going to be a free run to this resistance, right? It's going to clear it once, because what will happen is price will get here, react, and then up, right? So it's going to be a strong force. As a result, you can see this sideways movement is clearly accumulation going on, just like exactly what you saw here. You can see it went up, right? Then it tried again. It was a very strong resistance. It came back and it went back doing the same thing, the same pattern. That is accumulation. Nothing but buy power, bulls and whales adding to their position. So the longer XRP stay on this support, the more explosive the upside is going to be. So this is the 5-minute chart. See how interesting this is. This is the 5-minute chart. You can see price has not moved, right? It's just in one position. And that is nothing but accumulation, because if price is making this sideways move, it is clearly that from this point, I am beginning to see clear upside, right? Clear market structure of the bulls, right? Clear upper lows, clear higher lows. That is bulls at work. Even though price has not moved, we're getting clear buy pressure. That is what is showing. Buy pressure is accumulating. So breakout is very close. So we could see move to the upside happening very soon. Are you ready? Because this is going to be fun for XRP. Like, this is a buying zone. People keep adding, because I don't think you're going to have the opportunity to get this 0.28 again. Once this breakout happen, once the breakout to the upside happens, you're not going to find it easy for XRP sellers, or will I say bears, will not enjoy shorting anymore. They will become, because once these stop losses, those who are shorting XRP, their stop losses are placed right here, and right here, right? The seller stop losses are lined up in this zone. That's where the seller stop losses are lying. So once we break this this resistance, is going to be stop loss hunt, right? You're going to see clearing of stop loss and price, because if you are selling, if you're shorting a market, for you to close that position, it has to turn from selling to buy, right? So if you don't take profit, because they won't see it coming, right? These sellers, they're not going to see it coming. Because why? Because of this gradual steady move to the upside. So once price comes, it's going to be a surprise, and it's going to clear all the stop losses here. Because those who are shorting XRP right now are not enjoying the short, because the price is not moving down. Even though they are selling, price is not moving down. Price is just hanging around one zone, and it's going to be a breakout that will clear the stop losses, turning all the stop losses to a buy. That will drive the liquidity needed by these whales, because these are institutional traders that will do this stop loss hunt. They will be the ones hunting the stop losses here, right? So they will come like a thief at night to clear the stop losses, and then you will just see the next thing, you're seeing XRP hitting 0.45. It's going to be like a surprise once this barrier is broken. That is what XRP is likely going to play any moment soon. So for this analysis, my first target is 0.36. I'll tell you why. Why I said 0.36 is because of this clear barrier we're having at 0.7, right? 0.7, from 0.36 to 0.7, there's a clear resistance, and it is likely that price will first of all react to this resistance, right? So we could see price, when it gets to this resistance, it pulls back, right? So if I try to connect, if I take my trend line and I try to connect this high, this two high, right? Because that's where we are going to have our retest coming to. So we're going to have something like this. We're going to have something move like this. You could see a break up. It will come down, retest the breakout before going back up, right? This is how it's likely going to break this barrier. So the fact that it's going to react here, as a futures trader, I'm taking my first profit right here, right? So I'll wait to buy again on the retest of the breakout, right? So right here, we could see price come here, react because of this our down seller's trend line. This is seller's trend line, the resistant line. It could react to it, then come like this. So we could have that play out as well, right? Before it comes back down here and go up. So we have two options of how this is going to play out. Let me just show you again what we could likely be seeing on XRP, right? We could see price move up here, get to this first resistance around 0.3 31 to 32, it could react, right? Because of this sellers line, you could have sellers knowing that, okay, this seems to be a resistant line. We could short at this zone 0.31 to 0.2. So we could see price reacting. I'm an open trader, so I'm open to all possibility to avoid casualties. So it could come back here before making another attempt to break this resistance sellers line that is located here before making its way to 0.36. It depends. That is, if this move continue to happen, it will keep giving higher lows, right, before it moves. That is option 1. The option 2 is that we could have the buy pressure too strong for sellers to hold, that it will clear this resistance on a one run, right? This resistance right here, we could have it cleared in one run to go to 0.36 to react and then come back to the barrier that was breaking, turning our resistance now to a support, and then before it finds its way all to break this upward. So you see, that's a 2 possibility that is likely going to play out. But if you ask me what is the most higher chance among these 2 possibilities, which one is likely going to play more out, I will tell you the first one is likely going to play out more. Why? Is because of this crawling move, right? Because of the way the price is crawling up, it has more chances of breaking this up with this sideways consolidation, right? That is what I see, than it going straight, right? When price move in a diagonal way, it is possible, like I say, but again, it is possible, like I said, when price move diagonally up, but you find out that it can easily get shut down by this resistance because there is no enough strength in the bulls to keep running, because they will need a follow through. They will need a follow through to break this resistance. Instead, they could get that follow through by taking it gently and moving like the way they have been moving all the way from here. You see, the move they have been taking is not a diagonal move. Instead, it's a kind of a corny move. You don't see it, but it's moving. You don't see the price moving, but price is eventually moving. That is what is happening. So we could see it move up, that same pattern, then come back again before making that attempt. That is the move that I'm saying, but it is going to likely break this high. That is what will keep the market structure going. That is the only way the market structure can keep maintaining the new bullish market structure, because if you look closely, you see the market structure I'm talking about. This is a low, this is a high here, this is a high here, right? But you see that this new high is higher than the previous high. That's a change in market structure on 1 hour, right? It means that's a bull market structure. So what we want is that our new high is going to be higher than the previous high. Here, right? Before coming down to test the support and then try to break up, right? So it means it's still keeping the market structure. It means the market structure is still on the bullish side. So we could get another high right here. So we have higher highs going. But if we don't get that higher high in the bulls, it could cause a change. Now, I am a very open trader. I like checking and seeing that I observe to see if the bulls and the bears who has better chances of success. Now, if I look at this zone, right? If I try to ignore these inside highs, right, and I take the very obvious ones that are obvious to my eyes, it will be this particular one and this. Because if I go to the 4 hours chart, you will understand what I mean of the very obvious high. Because if I go to the 4 hours chart, you can see I can only see 2 clear highs on the 4 hours. Because I was on 1 hour, I see more highs than I should. But when I get to the higher time frame, the noise becomes less, right? You see, you get lesser noise. So if you look closely here, let me start the analysis from here. You see that you see lower highs, right? So you see the lower highs. You can see it, right? The highs keeps getting lower as we go. But then we had a break in that lower high, right? By this high right here. That's break in market structure. There's change in market structure. From lower highs to a higher high, that is the sign of the bulls. But on the bull side, we see that right here from this point, because from this point we had a lower low, right? This is a low, right? This low here is lower than this low here, right? You can see this low right here is lower than the low here, right? Telling you that there was sell pressure when price was making its way down. But instantly when price came in contact with support, price market structure started changing. First, it changed on the lows, right? So we got a new higher low here instead of lower low, instead of another low coming down here, because if price had made it down to this support, then the sellers opportunity would have grown, right? Because they would have made a lower low supporting their market structure. But instead, the bulls did not allow bears to succeed in that aspect on the 4 hours. They were able to hold on to the 4 hours support by making higher lows. And you can see that instantly this market structure that was happening here also reacted right here. So we had a breakout, right? This breakout is our first breakout. Please remember that this is our first breakout. This is our first new high in the trend, and this is our first new low, higher low in the trend. The first market structure changed by the bulls on this pullback. That is where the market structure changed. Let me clear all this drawing so that we can be able to see clearly. So right here we had a clear market structure going down, right? Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, right? Right here too, we started having lower high. This is lower low, this is lower low, lower low, and we had right here, let me start it from here. So we have lower low right here, because this is where we start analyzing. Another lower low here, another lower low, right? So but once price got in contact with support, there was a change. Because why? This is a buyer's zone. This is a buyer's zone. You can see the support. There was a support right here. There's another support right here. So this is a buyer's zone. So you see price got to this point and changed the market structure and started making higher low. We don't have lower lows anymore. So when price broke out, what we see price is coming back to retrace this seller's line. That's what we saw here when price came here to retest the seller's line. But again, we also have the buyer's line moving up. So what we saw is the buyer's line held the drop. It held the dump that was happening. On the buyer's line, we have the dump, and we could see it moving to make us another new high, higher than the previous high. But again, if you look, you see that bears has printed a clear, it's a war on this support. It's the bears are not making it easy for the bulls on this support. I must be honest with you. There could be a sideways fight between the bulls and the bears before things get clearer. Because why? You can see the sideways move. If I go to the daily chart, you're going to see a doji kind of. You see it? That's your doji, right? So you see it. The seller's pressure is also being very obvious, because this long wick shows sell pressure. It means they're trying everything to break this support right here. They are not making it easy. So I have to be open to also the side of the bear. You have to look at their strength and see who is going to take the next direction. So even if I'm seeing that push by the bears, I can also see this long buy by the bulls. So you can see that price has not crossed below this bull run here, because that's where institutional traders got in, and their stop losses are hanging right here. So institutional traders know that they can't allow price to drop below this zone, because why? Their stop losses are lying around this zone. This candle, this strong bull candle, is a sign of institutional traders in the market already buying. So they will likely start buying every pullback that leads on this support line. That's what we're going to see. Price respecting the pullback each time it comes. So if we go up, we're going to see it respect the trend line again and up, right? This is the daily chart. This is the possibility of the daily chart. So if I zoom out, you see a clear view of the pattern that is formed on the daily chart. It's a clear triangle pattern, and the triangle pattern we are having right now is a bullish triangle pattern. Why do I say is a bullish triangle pattern? It's because of the previous move, the move before the whole thing started, before the whole thing started, the move. So you can see that the move was bullish, right? You see the move was on the bull side. You see the move before the drop was bullish, right? So you see it bullish, very, very bullish. Now take note of this, because if I go to the weekly chart, this is where the whole chart becomes very interesting. This is where I am completely sure that these bulls have something up their sleeves based on this weekly chart. So come along with me, let's look and analyze this weekly chart one bar after another, right? So what we are seeing here is a long period of accumulation. Like XRP is sitting at home. That is what we're seeing here. So again, you see, let me show you example of our inverse head and shoulder playing out, and the effect of what happened with that inverse head and shoulder that we saw on the 4 hours chart. So this is the left shoulder right here. This particular zone, this is our left shoulder. Now the inverse head and shoulder characteristics is that the left shoulder and the right shoulder are always almost equal height, right? While the head is actually deeper than the two sides. It's the opposite of head and shoulder. It's a reversal pattern. It's a trend reversal pattern, very reliable. So right here we see that this is our left shoulder, right? This is our left shoulder, and again right here you can see they are almost equal height, right? That's almost equal height. So this is our right shoulder, right? So this is our right shoulder, and this is the head, right? So this is inverse head and shoulder. Now here right now, if I draw, that is our neckline. That's the resistance. That is the neckline. This is the same thing that is forming right here. Remember on the 4 hours chart. I'm going to show you how it played out in the past and why I expect it to play out in XRP again. So you can see that when price finally crawled all the way up, you can see it was crawling, then it broke the resistance, and you can see the explosive result of that break of that resistance, right? So it's just like what is happening now. Price was crawling up. So if I take my trend line, I will show you something. I want to connect it. Did you see how price was crawling up? Just like it is crawling right now, respecting the bull trend line, forming higher lows, and once it broke that strong resistance that has been hit, because look at it here, price makes its way up. It tried to break the resistance, it failed. It came down, it tried the resistance again, it failed. It come lower, and then this time around, instead of rushing up to try to break the resistance, instead price took it gently by accumulating on the support. As it's going, it made an attempt, it came back. This time, instead of making lower, remember when it was coming down this way, it was still making lower lows, right? Market structure was still on the bear side, it's still on the seller side. But once it got to this support, the market structure changed, and it's no longer rushing the breakout. Instead, it started moving slowly. Bulls were now adding to their position, and the bulls market structure changed because now it was now showing higher lows, right? You see these higher lows. This is the weekly chart. Higher lows and change in market structure. Instead of lower high, we started having higher highs, right? So we see market breaking that resistance with that crawl move. Nobody will see it coming except those who are watching, and it broke it. And you can see it didn't even pull back, it didn't even stop for a minute. You can see the bullish green candle and the follow through of that book candle all the way to 0.79, right? That is a strong move. That is a reaction from inverse head and shoulder. That is how it always play out, inverse head and shoulder, because the right shoulder always take time to break. It takes time to break, and that is accumulation going on. The time is taking is simply accumulation that is happening. So that is what we're going to see playing out in this inverse head and shoulder that we're seeing right here, right? That is what we're seeing. We can see price making higher lows at the same time, the same way the weekly chart did. Now, again, if we look at the weekly chart, we see the retest of that breakout, right? We see price coming back to retest to see if it's going to find buyers on that trend line. Now we see the reaction of that trend line. This is the weekly trend line. Now mind you, why I'm saying this weekly trend line is going to hold up is this, right? If you look closely, if I draw the trend line, right, we see that the sellers broke the trend line. Clearly they broke through the trend line, but there was a fake out. That was a mistake. It was like breaking the trend line was a mistake, because here, if we look at let's look at the candlesticks forming on the support right here, right? So we see this particular red candle broke this support, right? Clearly slashed through it. The body of the candle destroyed the support. But again, below that support lies another support, right? Because of this, like I said, price don't always find it easy to break accumulation zone. That is why they are called support. And especially if the accumulation zone, if the support has an accumulation on it, like a previous sideways movement or consolidation that took place for quite some time before the pump starts, it means when price comes back to retest it, that accumulation, that sideways move will stop price from falling through. That is what that's what happened here. So you see countless accumulation. Before price broke this resistance, it tried to form accumulation. It broke it and still formed another accumulation as when it changed it from resistance to support. So in this situation here, it was a resistance, right? But here now it is a support, right? Because that's where it is sitting on, and it was able to hold it before it went back to the upside. So this is now a clear support. So when price came back for the retest of that support, it broke this weekly bull trend line. But because of the countless accumulation, we see bulls coming back above the support because they are at home. The fight is happening at the forefront of the bull's home. So you see price coming back above support. So as we are talking right now, we see a rejection of that break, right? This is a 2-bar clear rejection on the support that prevented the next bar. Look at the next red sellers got trapped. These sellers, those who bought this, who are selling this particular zone, are trapped right now on the support. They are trapped. That's why I said stop loss hunt is going to happen anytime soon, because of the sellers who are selling this bar. They are trapped because these sellers who sold this bar got rejected by this bar. So we could see a pull up, right? A pull up to this resistance right here again, trapping those who sold this red inside bar. This bar here, it will trap sellers who sold this bar, who are shorting. Do you understand? That is what I mean by the weekly support is a strong support. Now, I believe that the weekly time frame is likely going to play out than any other time frame. Why? Is because of this rejection of the break of the support. So the pull up would be this break of this support is nothing but stop loss, right? So those who bought here are likely to have pulled out here. Institutional traders, they are the ones who broke this support during that time that the dump was heavy. The people didn't expect price to pull back to the support. They were expecting price to break down further because the news was terrible for XRP. So everything was against this support right here, which means a lot of people were expecting more sell-off to take place from this current zone, and that is the reason why it is not going to happen, because of the expectation that the crowd are having for XRP to keep selling off is going to prevent XRP from selling off. That is what is happening, because the institutional traders have bought the support and they have placed their stop loss just above below here, and they will not allow ordinary retail sellers to come and break this support. That is what we are seeing happening. That is why this support pulled back above the support, and even as I'm talking to you, price is above the support. That is the weekly trend line support, right? So this is where price is. This is where price is. So price is above the support, and as long as price stays above this support, then chances are that the bulls will still explode to the upside twice this height. The move is going to be twice this height. Why? Is because this is nothing but a retest. So if the breakout happened on XRP here, right, and price came to retest that breakout to pull out, then we should be seeing more force. Why? Because the first set of buyers who bought XRP on this breakout, I know conservative traders who don't buy first breakout. They are second breakout traders. They are retest traders, meaning that they saw this breakout. Most of them are institutional buyers. They saw this breakout that happened here, because if I take a horizontal trend line to show you the clear resistance happening on this is the clear resistance. Let me make it the yellow. So this is our clear resistance on the weekly, right? This is the clear resistance zone. Why? Because if I try to show you how many times price has been shut down trying to break this resistance, then you will understand. This is one, this is another one, this is another one, right? And you can see the reaction in this zone, right? So you see price angrily broke through that resistance. So the anger that price broke through the resistance, you can feel it from this bar. See how big that bar is. I think that's the biggest bar since this bar, right? Since this bar, this is the next biggest bar XRP has printed. That's since 2018. This is the only big bar that is like an angry move, because it has stayed on the downside for so long. Now, because of that, price came back to retest. Now, those buyers who missed this breakout are likely waiting for the retest. So it is obvious that they are waiting for price to make its way above this resistance again, right? And the resistance is our 0.3 zone to 0.37, like I said, all the way, because a resistance is an area, is not a line, is an area. So all this area is a resistance, just like all this area is our support, right? So it's an area, not a line. So don't mistake it and say this is the particular point that price must reverse on. No, that's the mistake most of us make. Support is nothing but an area, and resistance is nothing but an area. And in this situation, if you look closely, you can see the reaction of this particular area, right? So let me take my so let me show you the area. So this area right here is the resistance area, right? This whole, anytime price gets into this between this box, you see a reaction. You can see that reaction right here. You can see that you can see that reaction right here, right? That's the same reaction right here. Why? Because once price cross below it, you see the support trying to pull itself back up. So the resistance here, it served as a support, but once it broken, it becomes a resistance, right? So right here, it was a resistance. Once it's broken, it becomes a support. So, but we see that support clearly broken, and below it again, like I said, if I take my area again to show the area of the support, right here we see another support line right here, right? So this now becomes the center zone of action of this is the battlefront between the sellers and the buyers. This is the battlefront, right? Here, why? Above here, so this our red here is the area of the battle. That is where the weekly battle is going on. Anything that comes below here is home to the bulls, right? That's the home to the bulls. This is the home to the bulls, and anything that gets to this point is home to the sellers, right? So that's what you're going to see. So anytime price gets above this zone, sellers are in. Anytime it gets below this zone, buyers are in. So that is what has been going on the weekly chart. But what we're seeing is this time around, price is going to make its way to the upside. Because why? Because the support looks stronger than the resistance, because the resistance has already been broken before. It's been broken. So when it tries to make its way up, all it needs is some accumulation to just make another attempt, and we could get the breakout. So now, after explaining the weekly chart, I'm sure that this daily chart now makes a lot of sense why price is likely going to try to crawl its way up. So thank you for watching. If you find this video quite informative, do subscribe and like. Thank you. I will keep updating on what is likely going to happen, because the move is not going to be a sudden one that will happen all at once, that I'll be able to successfully see it make its way to this 0.36 today. Likely we could be seeing it anywhere from end of the day to tomorrow. So this sideways move is likely an accumulation zone, and will not give up easily just like that, because it is a battle. Thank you for watching, and thank you for joining me. Do give me a thumbs up if you find it informative, and subscribe so that you get a notification when I come live, because I'll be live again to update what is likely going to happen next once we get to this 0.36 zone. Thank you and have a blessed day.